got a really god-awful match here. Going 2-1 versus Grixis Control in a game that most likely would have gone to time. Now, my opponent was not necessarily the most experienced, so they probably made a couple of misplays here and there, and also they refused to concede to the lock, which I get, I understand that, but still, Ermagerd, this was complicated. But anyway, again, for reference, here's my deck list, and we'll get right to it. Okay, so first game. And let's see. Okay, so here are opening hands. Kept a pretty risky one-land hand. In retrospect, I probably shouldn't have kept this, but I had a Lantern, I had a Thoughtseize, I had a Pithing Needle, and I didn't feel like mulling to 5. So, I did. And I probably should have played a Thoughtseize first, but what you gonna do? And I saw a Scalding Tarn, and my heart sank. And here I'm just hoping I'll draw into enough lands for Ridge. Alright, and here I play a Thoughtseize, taking Kolaghan's Command, if I remember correctly. Now my idea here was that I'd eventually draw that Ghoul-Caller's Bell and keep them off lands. So if I was going to keep them off lands, I probably should have taken Kolaghan's Command. But whatever, I guess. And yeah, they're also not exactly most experienced with phases and stuff like that, so it comes up once or twice. And there goes my plan to keep them off lands. They draw 2 lands in a row off of Thought Scour right there. One off of the actual draw from Thought Scour, and the second off of their draw step. They got access to 4 lands. They can cast whatever they want to. They have Stubborn Denial on the top of their deck, which, instead of belling here and using Ghoul-Caller's Bell, instead I cast Lantern of Insight and sacrifice that to have them shuffle, so that I can keep the Glimmer Void, which I desperately need. And yes, I flashed my Brutality there. Accidentally. Not the best idea. So now I'm just trying to make them draw a bunch of useless spells. Which doesn't work. Clearly. If I let them draw the Kolaghan's Command, then they just cast it on my bridge. And if I mill the Kolaghan's Command, then they just snap it back. So there's no point. I figured I'll just try and recoup my losses in the other games. So, game 2. Pretty sure my sideboarding plan was this. Taking out Abrupt Decay, Pithing Needles, a Brutality, if I remember correctly, and just siding in my Welding Jars and Spellskites. They have lots of artifact destruction. Lots of it. And lots of different varieties. In the form of Shattering Spree. They've got that. There it is. Shattering Spree, which is lovely. Note that the Replicate ability makes a new spell every time that you pay for it. So if you've got a Spellskite on the battlefield, you can pay 2 life or a blue for each of the copies and redirect every single one to Spellskite. So they try blowing up your board, you just grab every single copy of the spell and redirect it to Spellskite. The first one will resolve, destroying it, and all of the other ones will be countered upon resolution for having an illegal target. They also have Vandal Blast in their sideboard, which is really scary because that just destroys everything. And, of course, Kolaghan's Command, which does everything. But anyway. So yeah, I kept a greedy hand and I paid for it. Now here, I kept a pretty interesting hand. Notice the double lantern, cool, whatever. Codex Shredder, cool. Bauble and Opal, which I really like seeing because it leads to nifty plays like this. So I hold priority here just to see what's on top of everything. I see that I'm not in any sort of dire need to take their top card, so instead of casting Codex Shredder, I cast Thoughtseize. And I also like keeping the Mishra's Bauble in hand, since it, I don't know, it's just my personal taste when doing stuff like that. And here they've got a nice hand, but they're low on threats, so I take their Angler. And just wait for them to fetch. I'm going to be fast forwarding a lot, so yep, crack my Bauble, get 2 draws, draw. And here I'm hoping to hit a land, but I hit Ensnaring Bridge instead, so why not? Alright, and they draw the Delver. And at this point, I'm just trying to keep myself alive long enough to actually, you know, resolve bridge. So I'm going to just try and keep their Delvers as small as possible. And right there, they cast Thought Scour, didn't put it onto the stack or anything, just tapped their land, put it directly into the graveyard, and just started doing it without asking permission or asking if I was passing priority or not. Happens quite a few times, and we do need to rewind the game a couple of times. And they just completely ignored that I was doing that as well. So, it happens. Yep, they ping me with Delver. They don't have much interaction in their hand, and I know that. So, I just try to land bridge, knowing that it's going to be remanded. That's fine. I don't really care. They don't have that much presence on the board anyway. And again, Angler's fine. I'm going to be landing bridge next turn. I know they don't have enough interaction to actually stop that. So here, they play Serum Visions, do their scrying, do the drawing, and whatever, and completely forget that I actually might want to interact with their draw step. But then I think about it, and I'm thinking, well, I'll show you after this resolves. Okay, so Serum Visions is on the stack. I'm thinking here, Serum Visions can't draw them, you can draw them into Thought Scour, that's fine. They draw Thought Scour, and whatever they scry, well, they can't cast Remand if they want to play Angler. So they attack with all of their Delvers, they cast their Angler. Now their game plan was, and I didn't think about this until a little bit later, but casting Thought Scour, targeting me, drawing Ceremonious Rejection, countering my bridge. Like I said, they have a lot of hate. So I play the Welding Jar first, and yeah, I kind of go along that too quickly. Yep, Thought Scour, targeting me, and then I respond just by taking the rejection. And at that point, now, I mean, I don't need the Surgical. Surgical's fine. And I know that they have double Bolt here, so that's okay too. I do need to take that Vandal Blast. That's not going to work. But I do it on their upkeep. I tend to do things on the upkeep a lot. It sends... I don't know. Opponents really don't like quirky interactions like that, and even though it's technically legal, I could have done the same thing on my main phase, but I did want them to untap their lands first so that they wasted any potential mana that they may have had. casting things, and also it's just really annoying, and being really annoying kind of plays into the theme of the deck, so I figured I'd do that. And here, I'm pretty sure, yeah, I sack a Lantern for that. At this point, game's basically wrapped up, got Ruins live, and I'm just, as I play with my deck, I'll leave the rest of the game and fast forward just so that you can see the whole thing. But at this point, it's pretty nicely cleaned up. Now notice that they use Polluted Delta in response to my mix. Now this does have a benefit of keeping the card that I'm trying to get rid of in their deck as opposed to in the graveyard or in exile, but it does mean that they get to see one less card, which is beneficial for me. So I'm perfectly okay with that interaction. They do get this card, they activate the fetch land in response. We do have to keep in mind that we are a draw control deck, not necessarily a mill deck, although, of course, mill is kind of the whole point. It's win condition, actually. But in order to control their draws, we mill them out. But we mill them out to control their draws, if that makes any sense. So, seeing one less card means one less card getting shown to either player means one less chance that they have of drawing something relevant. Now here, they do end up playing Tasigur, but their graveyard is flooding that it doesn't make any sense. This is one reason why I like blind milling. Well, not necessarily blind milling, but one reason why I like playing against the late game Grixis Delver is because they like filling their graveyard, and Tasigur doesn't like a full graveyard. But I like a full graveyard because I can give them Delvers and Spell Snares and all sorts of nasty, unnecessary things. Alright. I'm deciding on whether or not to keep this. Again, I keep a one-land hand with Bridge, with a couple mill rocks, with discard, it's got interaction. My opponent also keeps a one-land hand here. Not a one-land hand, a 6-card hand. Oh, what am I thinking? And I don't remember what I scryed atop. Oh, that's what I scryed atop. Spellskite. That'll come in handy. Now here, my opponent also scryed to top, so I probably should have led with a Pixis. An activated Pixis. But what you gonna do? And I take Remand, as that's their only real form of interaction that they have. And here they just pop Scour again, without asking. And I've seen these 3 cards, but I have not seen Serum Visions, and I have not seen Snapcaster Mage. Now that Snapcaster Mage does come to bite me in the ass a little bit later on. Again, straight to the graveyard without using the stack at all. Please do not do this when you are playing your own decks, because the stack does exist, and people do receive priority after you cast your spells, and they have a chance to respond to them by casting instants and activating abilities of creatures and artifacts on the battlefield. So, I don't know, that's kind of annoying. And here we're just waiting for them to resolve their scries. They take a bit to decide whether or not they want Snapcaster. Now, at this point, I have Pixis and I have Shredder. And I noticed that they scryed both to top, but they were a little bit concerned about what they were going to be scrying. Like, the order that they were going to hold those 2 in. So, I didn't really make this choice based off of logic, because screw logic. But I did decide to activate Pixis first, Shredder second, which comes in really handy. Because the thing that I exile face down is Ceremonious Rejection, if you didn't see that in the little chat thing on the side. I end up milling Snapcaster Mage. Again, it's one of those more luck things. Here, I figure that... Oh, do they have any interaction? Yeah, just ever denied that. But I had the 1 to pay for it, so it didn't really matter. Now here I figure that the revealing of what they have is a little more important than casting Skite. And again, I'm just trying to keep them off threats, and they kind of draw a little bit quickly. Again, just go straight to draw, don't ask. And I tend to do that, say, on your upkeep, right before they draw their card. It's a lot easier to do in person because you can't just draw a card within a tenth of a second. You actually have to move your hand out, and that gives you a chance to say, I'm holding priority on your upkeep, or on your upkeep I do this, or just tap your mill rock, point to them, and say, on your upkeep. So it doesn't really translate well, and we end up spending a lot of time figuring this out because I didn't realize that they had taken the Delver directly out of their hand. So you're just hoping they don't have interaction, but they were saving the Snapcaster, again, saving the Snapcaster for something big. And they drew a Snapcaster, I think. Okay, so playing around here, and my opponent plays a Shattering Spree. So, I wait for them to choose their targets before doing anything else. They choose their targets. I'm not sure if they realize that you can target the same permanent twice with multiple copies of Shattering Spree, because each spell is a different instance of the spell. Just like you can target either the same player with 2 bolts, or you can target 2 different creatures with 2 bolts, because they're 2 different spells. Replicate does the same thing. So I have to choose what I want here. So, after a little bit of thinking, I decide to fix top decks before saving Lantern. Snapcaster Mage, a single Snapcaster Mage, is not going to apply that much pressure. And I have Spellskite to block. Alright, so we're resolving top decks. Painful Druths, bad thing, very, very bad thing. And I kind of have to concede the Delver. Also, I have a Shredder on top of my deck, which kind of helps. Want to watch me doing some filming? My fiance and I recently got a couple of kittens. Oh, hang on. I can have both of y'all on my lap. Come on. So, Delver's fine. He thinks I'm sacrificing the Lantern here. Oh, fine. Get off my lap then. But I'm not. Permanents tap when they regenerate. It is more of a fringe scenario, but it does come up. For example, a Jeskai Nahiri player, or I hate that name, Jeskai Harbinger player will exile a tapped artifact that they've attempted to destroy. Yes, Alex, this is my workstation. No, you can't lay on my keyboard. Whew. Having cats is almost as hard as having children, I swear. I take that back. Having children is significantly harder. Oh yeah, and a bit of a stroke of luck there. End up top decking a bridge. That's nice. Now I choose to not block here, because I see that bridge is on the top. If that bridge wasn't on the top, I probably would have blocked, and it probably would have died to that fork bolt that they've been sandbagging this whole game. And for some reason, they haven't cracked Painful Truce. And they do that later on, and it is a very, very difficult moment. Now here, they could have cast Stubborn Denial on my Ensnaring Bridge, and I'm not really sure why they didn't. It's not like I have an unlimited amount of bridges or something. I do have a very finite amount of bridges. Now here, they try to cast Kolaghan's Command on it instead, returning a Snapcaster to their hand. So I Skype the Kolaghan's Command, and they get their Snapcaster. And at this point, I'm okay with them drawing Counter Squall. I've got everything that I need on the field. I have my bridge, I have my lantern, I have 2 mill rocks. It's going to be a very intricate dance trying to get them to, you know, get control of their deck. They've got 31 cards in there, and it's going to be a long way down. And yeah, it's a complicated match, and they're just venting about it a little bit. I don't blame them. This is an extremely complicated match. Originally, I was going to be prepping for Grand Previous, but my work sucks. So, here they're resolving Painful Truths, which they could have done last turn, and I'm not sure why they didn't, probably because they just didn't see it. I just asked them to reveal each draw that they make. Now, I'm not sure how common knowledge this is, but the rules for Magic the Gathering officially state that cards are drawn one at a time. If you are to make a card draw where it's multiple cards at once, you actually perform that many individual card draws, which means that each card is revealed as you draw it if Lantern of Insight is on the battlefield. So, Painful Truths resolves, that's fine. Ancestral Visions resolves, that's fine. Just make sure to reveal the draws. And from here, it is a very intricate dance. A very intricate dance. Their deck is jam-packed with interaction, and it's all quite scary. Fortunately, I do get this Academy Ruins here, and nothing they can really do about it. I'm going to put this in fast forward again so that you can see the match. But from here, it's really just ruinsing things, and building up my Millrock Horde. They could have countered that with the Stubborn Denial they had in hand, but honestly, it would have delayed me just one turn. So I think they wait for it to be a more impactful counterspell. Now here, I like Tasigur at this point. They don't have much in their graveyard, and I know that I'm going to draw a lot of burn. So I'm going to try and keep them off burn at this point forward. But I'm okay with this. In fact, they're 1 point from lethal here. 1 point from lethal burn, without Spellskite being in play. But I do have Spellskite, so those triple bolts would be Spellskite. And here they do use Stubborn Denial and Welding Jar, supposedly so they can use triple bolt on Spellskite. But it never actually happens. So, yeah. And now they're down to 12 cards and still activating Tasigur. Okay, and give them back that Delver of Secret that was on top. Still more intricate dances. And Serum Visions finally resolves, and they get Tasigur. Oh, wait. Nope, they don't resolve Serum Visions. Now they resolve Serum Visions. And they have to survive. I have to survive a single turn here. And I end up surviving it. Because they've got a swamp on top of their deck. And they tapped out here. And I'm not really... Oh, wait. They tapped out for Angler. Excuse me. And at this point, I don't want to bring things back with Ruins because I've only got that one blue source, and I want to save that for Spellskite just in case, because I know that I let them draw a lot of burn, and I didn't quite remember exactly how much burn. So, that was my own fault for not keeping good notes. And here's just very carefully milling them out, because I know that they've been doing this because they got a live card, and there's their live card, Vandal Blast, all the way on the bottom. And that's game. Honestly, this would have probably gone to time, and it would have been a 1-1-1. But I'm going to mark it a 2-1 because... well, because it's a 2-1, and this is not an actual timed game, so I'm marking it 2-1. But if you're keeping stats and you want to mark it 1-1-1, go ahead. I don't blame you. That's probably what it actually is, especially if we were in any sort of competitive event, which is kind of the whole point of what we're doing here.